For years, we've all been told the same thing. Millions of baby boomers would eventually sell their homes, right? A mass wave of inventory would hit the market, right? Housing affordability would improve. Sellers would finally have more options. The prices would start to cool. Well, there's only one big problem with this. None of it happened. In fact, the exact opposite may be happening. And that's what I'm going to show and explain to you why inventory remains painfully low in many markets across America. But we're going to have to start with the original theory first to truly understand this. Baby boomers, and this is a fact, own an enormous percentage of residential real estate here in the United States. Many economists believe that as this generation aged, they would downsize, move to retirement communities, move closer to friends and family, or just transition into assisted living. And when that happened, millions of homes would be available. But you know what? That just didn't happen. The media even actually gave it a name. They called it the silver tsunami, right? Silver hair. So, okay, hope you got that one. Sounds logical, right? Well, the problem is people don't always do what's logical on paper. They do what's logical for them and their families. And that's where the prediction really started to break down. Most boomers aren't sitting in homes that they hate. They're sitting in homes that they love, homes that they've lived in for decades, homes that are filled with memories of family, friends, parties, all kinds of fun stuff. Homes that often are completely paid off or financed with a mortgage, well below 3%. So just think about that for 1 second. If your mortgage payment was locked in at like I don't know, 2.5%, right? Would you voluntarily trade that interest rate for today's interest rate? I don't think so. And most people won't. And many people aren't doing that. You know what? And then there comes the property taxes. Well, here in the great state of California, which I know and love, fifth generation, thank you very much. Many homeowners, like my family, have tax bases established years ago. Selling means potentially giving up enormous tax advantages. Moving could actually increase, not decrease, monthly housing costs dramatically. So think about this. Even if they bought a smaller home, that would equal a higher payment, higher taxes, higher interest rate. Why would you make that ludicrous trade? That's the logical side of thinking. Like, well, if I do this, I get that, right? Then we get to jump into the emotional side. Most housing forecasts assume people would act like spreadsheets, but housing isn't just math. It's psychological, it's family, it's community, it's comfort, it's routine. Many older homeowners aren't looking at their homes as investments. They're looking at it as a home, where you love to spend time, kind of a home, invest in it, upgrade it, kind of a home. That's a completely different decision making process. So now let's talk about what really matters. Because if millions of homeowners aren't selling, inventory doesn't appear. If inventory doesn't appear, buyers compete on fewer homes. Buyers compete on fewer homes. Prices remain elevated. Prices remain elevated. Affordability continues to suffer. Suddenly, man, that was a lot. Suddenly, how the housing shortage isn't just about builders. And it isn't about interest rates, and it isn't about government policy, or it might be millions of homeowners simply saying no. Why? Because it doesn't make financial sense to leave. And this is where it gets really interesting. Many home experts are still waiting for the silver tsunami. But what if it never comes? What if the real story isn't the inventory? What if it's a permanent inventory constraint? What if America is entering a decade of excess housing supply? No, but a decade of chronic housing scarcity. That's a completely different market. That's the thing. You got to think about it. When it's completely different than what we were sold as a mainstream narrative, it becomes a different environment for investors, for agents, for brokers, for buyers, for sellers, for investors. So the biggest housing market prediction of the last decade may have been 100% wrong. The silver tsunami, excuse me, can't even speak, was supposed to solve inventory problems. Instead, many homeowners appeared so financially locked into their homes that even before. And then until that changes, inventory may remain tight. And then many people just say, well, I'm just not going to move because I just can't afford to. This thought pattern is called the golden handcuffs, clink, clink, because you're locked, you're handcuffed financially, emotionally, psychologically to your current home. They're just not willing to give it up. So, in conclusion, I want to hear from you guys. Seriously, I want to hear from you guys. If you guys are seeing boomers selling your market, let me know. If are they staying put, let me know. You know what? Hit me up with your market and any observations that you may have in the comments below because I want to hear what you're thinking about. And if you're a real estate agent or a broker or investor or a homeowner who wants real conversations about what's actually happening in the housing market, make sure you subscribe to this channel. It would really help this channel out, and I would love it to get in more in-depth conversations. All right, guys, we're just getting started, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.